Have you ever had a preconceived notion of someone, and then you meet them and they turn out to be way different than you expected? Well, that's exactly what happened to me in this interview. I wondered what value a 30-year-old fitness influencer possibly could share with those of us over 50. Turns out, quite a bit. Our guest today brought a wealth of knowledge and insights that are incredibly relevant for anyone looking to lose weight, get in shape, and show up as the healthiest, strongest, most vital version of themselves in the second half of their lives. So sit back, relax, and get ready for a fun and informative conversation that just might change the way you think about fitness at any age. Hello and welcome to the Over 50 Health and Wellness Show. I'm your host, Kevin English. I'm a healthy aging expert and the founder of The Silver Edge, and I'm on a mission to help men and women just like you build lean, strong, healthy, capable bodies that they love for the rest of their lives. We have a great show for you today. Vince Sant is here, and he's going to share diet and exercise advice that is relevant regardless of your age or your fitness level. So, if you're over 50 and you're wanting to improve your health and fitness, stick around. You're in the right place. Are you frustrated with dieting and maybe you're beginning to suspect that your metabolism is sabotaging your weight loss efforts? If you're wondering why shedding those extra pounds seems like such an uphill battle and why weight loss seems to get more and more difficult with every passing year, then head over to silveredgefitness.com and take our brand new metabolism quiz. This quiz has 10 simple questions. It'll take you less than 60 seconds to complete, and you'll get a detailed report with simple but effective strategies based on your individual results to help you finally get off that diet hamster wheel and build that lean, healthy body that lasts a lifetime. So, if you want to see if your metabolism is hindering your weight loss efforts and what to do about it if it is, head over to silveredgefitness.com. You'll find that quiz right at the top of the page. My guest today is Vince Sant. Vince is the co-founder of V-Shred, one of the fastest growing online fitness brands. His mission is to provide everyday people with effective weight loss strategies and programs to help them achieve their fitness goals. Vince has dedicated his career to helping people reclaim their health and confidence at any age, and today V-Shred serves millions with easy-to-follow exercise routines and science-based nutrition plans. With 16 million monthly website hits, a 1.5 million strong email community, and a social media influence of well over 10 million, V-Shreds makes a positive impact worldwide. And as you'll hear, Vince's vision extends beyond fitness. He wants to help empower people to understand their unique health needs and achieve optimal health throughout their lives. Without further ado, let's meet Vince. Hello, my guest today is Vince Sant. Vince, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you for having me. Very excited to be here and talk shop.
Yeah, likewise. I am excited as well. So, man, let's get to it. Let's talk some shop. I'd love to know, when was it in your life that you first got interested, not so much in fitness, but fitness as a career?
Okay, yeah. A good distinction there, because I feel like there's a large amount of time usually when somebody kind of gets into their own fitness journey, and then it takes a little bit of time for them to decide that they want to make a career out of it. And that's the exact same way that it was for me. Started working out when I was 14 years old, but didn't really take it serious till I was probably around 20. And that was when it was actually my business partner, then best friend, came to me and he was like, hey, we should because I had helped people get in shape, right? Just like loosely helped friends get in shape, worked out with people that I knew who just saw me, who I was in good shape, and I worked out a lot, and I kind of understood nutrition a little bit. Basically just tracked macros. That's all I really knew about nutrition at the time. And people saw that, and then they started to come to me and they were like, hey, help me work out. Hey, what should I be eating? Hey, what do you eat? And that started happening more and more, I'd say, around that 20-year-old mark. I think that's finally when people were finally not looking at me as like a high school kid anymore. Right. I was still a kid in the grand scheme of things. And so I started helping people get in shape, and this was just it wasn't a business or anything like that. This was friends, family, acquaintances. And then, like I said, my then best friend, now business partner and CEO of V-Shred now, he came to me and two of our other friends and was like, hey, what do you guys think about like turning this into like making a program, like making a legitimate program. I think two of them had a background in marketing and always were entrepreneur minds, mind focused. And I was always that way as well. I was just doing like fashion modeling at the time, but I was always working out. Fitness was always my number one passion. Modeling was just kind of this thing that got me out of Dayton, Ohio, and got me into a bigger city. But I never really wanted to do that long term. It was kind of a vain industry. I didn't really love it that much, and it didn't really make the world a better place. And my now partner came to us and was like, "Hey, what do you guys think about doing a program?" And we were all just like, "Yeah, sure, let's do it." And we had no idea what we were getting ourselves into. And right before that actually is when I was like, okay, if I'm going to help people, then I need to actually know what I'm talking about and not just know how to get in shape myself. And that's when I went out and got certified in training and nutrition. And that's when everything kind of took a new life. When me and my partners got together, we created this AB program. I got the certifications that I needed to get. And it just started really small, and we never really planned on it being what it is today. Today, it's quite the behemoth of a company, which is crazy to think about. But that back then, we were just like, let's just like help other guys like us get abs and feel better about themselves and maybe pay our rent with it, And that's kind of where it started. And we quickly realized that there was a need for fitness programs, because back then there actually wasn't a ton of competition. The market wasn't super saturated back then. Today there's 1 million fitness influencers with 1 million different programs and apps that are standing new fitness influencers up every single day. But back then it was like there was like Beachbody, there was bodybuilding.com, and that was really about it. And there were a couple like supplement companies that were popping up here and there, but there really wasn't that much. And so we were like, hey, what if we like kind of expanded this beyond, we just had an AB program at the time. And we were like, what if we made like full body programs, made them for all different goals. And then we created our body type quiz to help people associate themselves with which program is going to be best for them. And from there, that's when everything really took off.
All right. So how old are you today?
Today I'm 30.
30. So this is 10 years ago then, when you really when all of this took place. And like you said, this has turned into a behemoth. I'm not obviously privy to the internal workings, but you got your V-Shreds, the main site. I know you do a V-Shreds for women. You got an apparel, you got a supplement, you have all these different lines. And I think it's fair to say you are a social media master. Like I said before we hit record, I was like, oh, that's the V-Shred guy. That's how most people probably know you, right? That, I mean,
100%.
In the world, right? You're the V-Shreds guy. So who in that team, because you mentioned there was, your best friend, now the CEO of the company, a couple other guys, which one of you, or was it really a combination of you, who was that social media master that said, hey, this is a passion, we can pay our rent with this? And then you're like, oh shit, we're not just going to pay the rent, we're going to pay ourselves. At some point, talk to us about that transition between just being successful and then just blowing up. Because if I'm not mistaken, you've got 10 million plus followers across all your channels. Does that sound about right?
More than that, yeah.
More than, so you guys have built quite the empire here. And is it fair to say that you built most of that off the back of social media as your basic marketing platform?
100%. Yeah. And I'm actually really glad you asked that, because I feel like my partners don't get enough credit for what we've done. I'm in the limelight, and it comes with its downfalls as well. There's this pros and cons to it. But
Vince, who's that? Oh, the V-Shreds guy. Right. All right.
Yeah.
The dude with
and
the
so
abs.
it's really cool, but there's also I take a lot of arrows too, but that comes with the job. But I feel like they don't get enough recognition, because we truly would not be here without every single, there's 4 partners, and we would not be here without every single one of us. And 2 of them came from this marketing background where they knew Facebook affiliate advertising like the back of their hands. And they knew that, hey, if we could crack this fitness, because they wanted to do something in what's called a mega niche. And so that's there's only a couple mega niches out there. It's like fitness, it's money making, it's love, it's like insurance. And so like there's a couple things that everybody needs, everybody wants, right? It's like if you're trying to sell guitars, that's a very small demographic. That's not a mega niche, right? And so they knew they wanted to do something in that. And we were best friends at the time. And they saw me in really good shape. And that's when they had the idea of like, hey, why don't, and they also wanted to do something that like would improve the world and they would actually feel good about doing, you know? And so that's when they came to me. They had this background of Facebook affiliate advertising. And yeah, so two of my partners came from that background, Nick and Kevin. Nick is our CEO. Kevin is our head of acquisition. And it was really like, we knew that if we could figure out like they came from a background of sales funnels, right? And so like posting an ad, sending it to a sales page, upsell flow, all that kind of stuff, right?
Right.
But they had never really done it for their own company before. They had always done it for other companies that already had their sales funnels dialed in. And so we were like, hey, if we could create an awesome program, we could create a website, and we could create a sales funnel that people like and that it converts, then we could really sky this thing. And we had no idea that it would take off to to where it is today. But yeah, Nick and Kevin, they came from this background of running ads. And so, yeah, I mean, we would not be, and so like what you said about our following, we've been running ads since like the first, I'd say we didn't start running ads immediately. We actually started with like other forms of trying to get our name out there. We started with just like regular organic social. We started with email marketing, lead gen, that kind of stuff. But then once we created different programs and we created our quiz, that's when everything kind of took off. And just through the ad spend every single day, we acquired quite a following. And we also did a lot of organic content. Like we were posting on YouTube all the time. We've always posted on Instagram all the time, Facebook all the time. And so there's a percentage of that just did come in organically, but a large percentage of it came from paid advertising and people seeing that, hey, this is a reputable fitness company. They're helping a ton of people. They have a ton of testimonials. And so that allowed them to just give us that trust to come in and listen to what we had to say. And we've had a lot of people get a lot of great results from our programs. And it's funny, I had this person DM me the other day and they were like, you're selling snake oil. And I didn't respond with a message. All I sent was like 50 testimonials. And that was it. And I was like, say something to that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I love it. I could see how somebody might look at your marketing and think, hey, that's way too slick. And, you know, what are these guys up to? And, you know, there could be a little bit of resentment to the success that you guys are having maybe. But you've already, in just a couple of minutes we've talked about, have said the words, we want to improve the world. We want to improve people's lives. We want to do good things. So I can feel that coming from you. And to be honest, you know, just having met you, I love that you're leading with that as opposed to, yeah, man, because obviously you guys have got the sales funnels down, man. Mm-hmm. I love your survey, right? The Take the Body Type survey.
Right.
Who doesn't want to do that, right? So it's very kind of addictive. So I love the fact that you got these partners here, some of them very tech savvy, and you guys are completely taking off. Now, I'm an old dude. I just turned 60, right? So 10 years ago,
you look great, by the way.
Well, thank you, sir. Yeah, I'm trying to normalize being strong, healthy, fit as we're getting older, right? But so I didn't have any social media 10 years ago. It wasn't until actually I started this business. It turns out you don't have an online fitness business without some sort of social media presence. But when you first started, when you were 20, 21, I'm not really sure what the landscape looked like then, but did you have a large personal following? I mean, you're a good looking dude. Like you said, you were modeling, you were a fitness model. Did you have a large audience that you leveraged, or was this really kind of built from the ground up from more of this marketing machine?
No, this was, I would say, built from the ground up. I had, at the time, I'd say maybe 100,000 followers, which I guess you could say is a pretty good following, but it wasn't a fitness following. It was a male modeling following.
Gotcha.
And so it was a very specific demographic that followed me for my underwear pictures, essentially. And so we knew that, like, and I would post the fitness stuff, and it was actually quite funny. We would post fitness stuff, and I would lose followers because that's not what they were wanting from me.
So not what they were there for.
Yeah, I had to completely shift. Like, I had to kind of get rid of my following so that we could build up a different following. I essentially rebranded myself completely. But no, it was built from the ground up. We actually had a buddy of ours who was talking to us, and we actually just started working with, he has an agency, and we started working with their agency, and he was like, yeah, I was just at this a seminar the other day, and I was talking about building brands, and I was talking, and he told us that I guess he used us as an example of having to build from nothing. Essentially, he was like, they built, because like V-Shred has built me into a globally recognized face. Everywhere I go, I get recognized. People ask me for pictures. I am known as the V-Shred guy, right? Yep. And it wasn't like that at all before. When I went out in public, nobody knew who I was. Maybe like once every couple months, maybe, right? Now it's completely different, and that's 100% due to our ability to market ourselves and our ability to connect, and just the social media outreach that we have due to our marketing abilities, you know?
Yeah, fantastic. Well, man, I could literally talk to you for all of our time together just about this subject, because I'm very interested in it. I think it's fascinating, but I want to talk to you a lot about fitness. So last thing on social media, somebody listening to this, because this is a great, this new social media landscape is a great platform for people to get messages out. If somebody is out there and is trying to brand themselves, promote a message, etc., what's the one piece of advice you would give them on growing an audience, on being successful and amplifying their voice?
Yeah, I would say it's a great question. I would say find what makes you different. Because and also make it really depends. First I'd say figure out what audience you want to talk to first. Do you want to talk to a small audience? Do you want to talk to a niche? Do you want to talk to 90% of the population? Because the messaging that you're going to have is going to be different if you're talking to people who want to build muscle and get bodybuilder status versus people who want to maybe lose 20 pounds and just feel a little bit better about themselves. Or like we said in the beginning, if someone wants to sell guitars, that's very niched. And so figure out like who you want to sell to, go do your research on them, figure out what their pain points are, figure out what they've tried in the past, what they've struggled with, what are the common beliefs that it takes to learn a skill or get in shape or find love or whatever that demographic or whatever that niche is, that industry is. Research the hell out of them. That's the most important thing that you can do. And then figure out what we call the unique mechanism that's going to differentiate you from everybody else. For us, it's been, and there's people now that are hopping on board with what we do now because they've seen it work. But like when we first started with our body type quiz, nobody had been doing anything like that. Today, people got quizzes out the butt, right? Sure, but back in the day, nobody was really doing anything like that. And so we were like, how do we help people understand that we can help all of them, but let them know we know they're different? And when people feel heard, when people feel like you know that they're different, because everybody looks at themselves as different and everybody is unique. And so if you can say, hey, Kevin, I know that you are different and you have specific needs, but we have something that can identify your specific needs and help you, that is going to completely change the game for them in their mindset, and they're going to trust you. So figure out who your demographic is, do your research on them, and then figure out a way where you can truly give them something different. And I think if you do that, you're probably going to win. And then after that, it's just a lot of hard work and a lot of putting out fires and a lot of struggle and a lot of stress. But if you're willing to put up with that stress, it's going to work eventually.
Right on. All right. I love it. And I love that idea of just being, finding that uniqueness, your unique voice, right? And sharing that with your unique tribe. The people that's supposed to land with will land, that's going to land with them, is going to attract your
And there's going to be people that don't agree with it,
Sure.
and that's fine too.
Yeah, and that's fine too.
And that's okay.
Yeah, I'm guessing that having a thick skin is a requirement to wading into superstardom or being a fitness influencer. Is that
and
fair?
I don't think I was quite there at the beginning.
Is that right?
We popped up onto the spot, I'd say year 2 or 3. And that was like probably about a 6 months after we created our quiz is when the quiz kind of took off. And that's when we went from not really doing anything to pushing some volume and getting some recognition. And I think the people who had been in the industry for decades didn't really like this new kid who was young and speaking differently. I don't think they really liked that. And so they started talking bad about us. And we also grew way faster than we thought we ever would. And there were a lot of things that we just weren't prepared for when we did grow that fast. And so that's what people kind of took shots at us for. And rightly so. We had bad customer service. We didn't have the coaches and the response time that we should have had with our custom plans. And now we've fixed all of that. And so it was a blessing in disguise to receive those shots at us, because we took a look in the mirror and we were like, hey, are they right about any of this stuff? And if they were, if they weren't and they're just hating on us because they don't like my hair, whatever. But if they're hating on us because our customer service is bad, it's like, is our customer service bad? Yeah. Hang on, let's look at this. What is our average response time?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and so if we had to fix something, we would fix something. And so in the beginning, those shots, they hurt a little bit. I'm not going to lie. Since then, I realized that, hey, what we're doing as a company is helping people. And we're not going, and I don't come from a business background. I don't have a business degree from college. This was all self-taught. And so it's like, we're going to make mistakes, but we're doing it with good intentions. It's not like we're out here trying to scam people. We know what we're trying to do for the world. We know how much we care about this. And so you just have to always remind yourself of that when you do start getting that hate. And we actually have, I don't know if you've heard of the software Slack. It's like a business messaging software. We use that, and we have a channel in our Slack that's called Raving Fans. And every single day, there are people dropping testimonials from their clients, our clients. We have a team of coaches. And so the coaches are all in there dropping testimonials. And so back in the day, whenever they'd be like, hey, there's this new video that someone made about you, I'd go watch it first off, and I'd be like, okay, is any of this true? Let's just see if like they're talking bad about something that is true that we need to fix. If not, and they're just hating on us because they're jealous, then I go into that Raving Fans channel and I go, okay, I don't need to be listening to this troll. I have these thousands of testimonials of people who are crying to us because they lost 40 pounds and they got off blood pressure medicine. And so you just remind yourself of what your actual mission is. And I think that helps you build that thick skin to realize, hey, this kind of stuff is always going to happen no matter your level of success. You just got to get used to it.
Yeah. Stay on track with that mission. Absolutely love it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Vince, I got a whole bunch of places I want to go here, but first, just kind of talking about the age difference between you and I, right? Okay, so I'm curious, what's your relationship with Dr. Drew? Because that's when I see the advertisements where he pops up, and I was talking to one of my coaches before I hopped on here. I said, yeah, I'm getting ready to interview the Beach Shreds guy. She goes, oh, I love Dr. Drew. What's the deal about Dr. Drew? So you've got obviously you've got a marketing machine, but he pops up quite frequently. Is he a partner? Is he an affiliate? Or how do you guys, what is that relationship? Because clearly he, that's somebody who, you with your shirt off, I'm as a gym dude, I'm like, oh, hell yeah. I'd like to have that body. But let's face it, 55-year-old Mrs. Smith who's trying to lose 20 pounds, maybe less of a connection there than with somebody like Dr. Drew comes in and he says, hey, this is a metabolism killer. This is a metabolism killer. What's that relationship like for you? And how long have you guys been working together?
Yeah, so great question, because I do think people will assume that we're just paying Dr. Drew and he's just a paid endorser, And it's funny, I actually had this.
It's a bit more than that, but yeah.
Yeah, but I think I think you have probably a different understanding than Janet in Wyoming does,
Maybe so.
And it's funny, I actually had this guy come up to me the other day at the gym, and he was like, hey, what's up with Dr. Drew hating on you guys all the time? And I'm like, he doesn't hate. I was like, wait, what? I was like, wait, what are you talking about? He's like, he's always making these videos where he's like, have you seen this guy? And I'm like, no, that's one of our angles to like lean into the people that are hating on us, and then he's an advocate of us. Yeah. So what happened was, Dr. Drew and his wife, they actually we met through this app called Cameo, if you've heard of Cameo. Mm-hmm. And so it's like this app that you can essentially pay people for a video, right? Like a happy birthday or or a happy anniversary or something like that. You can get like whoever you want to
done it for my daughter. Yeah, actually I do know.
Okay, yeah, there you go. And so that's where we saw him on that, and we were like, hey, that would be awesome if we could work with Dr. Drew. Like, that is like right in our wheelhouse. We've known that like there's a demographic that doesn't relate to me, and we're very aware of that. Like, we're very lucky that my face and I guess my relatability and like just the way that I speak on camera now does talk to a very wide demographic, which is awesome, right? But we also know there's a very probably large percentage of people that are like, what does this kid know about menopause? What does this kid know about me at 60 years old, right? And so we've always known that this was always going to be bigger than just me as the face. You can only get so far with one face of your brand, right? And we saw Dr. Drew on there. We're like, man, it would be awesome if we could work with Dr. Drew. And so we tried to. And there was a little bit of hesitancy in the beginning. He is very study driven. Like he's all about the science. And so what we did was we were like, hey, we want to give you a program. We want to hook you up on one of our plans and just try it out. And if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. And so him and his wife both started our program. And him and his wife both lost, I think he's lost like 22 pounds now. His wife lost like 14 pounds, like quick. And they were taking our supplements. And so after that, they were just believers. And so that is kind of how it got started. And then after he saw results on our program and he started doing our style of workouts, which, I mean, we didn't make up our style of workouts. It's just what we promote for the most part, and started following our style of diet because he actually came from a carnivore background and he said it didn't really work for him that well. He said he enjoyed it, but it didn't really work for him as far as what his goals were. And so he tried ours, which is typically a carb cycle, and it was phenomenal. And he was keeping his muscle, putting on more muscle with the weight training. He wasn't hurting himself with his training anymore. He was cutting down on fat. He lost, I think he's at 22 pounds now or something like that, in phenomenal shape. And so he just became a believer, right? And then after that, it was like, hey, we would love to collaborate in whatever way you're comfortable collaborating. And it started small. It started with just like him filming some videos for us, right? And we were like, hey, we would love to just talk about you on our program in our ads, right? And he was like, oh, he was all for it. And obviously we compensate him for it because he's Dr. Drew. He's putting his name on something, right? But it came from a true connection and a true belief in what we're doing. And that's important to us because we don't want somebody who's just going to be a paid spokesmodel. We're not interested in that. We want someone who is, if they get stopped in public and they're like, hey, tell us really about V-Shred. Yeah. What's that all about? We don't want them to be like, oh, well, it's just a company that I partnered with. No, I want them to be like, no, it has changed my life. They've changed a bunch of lives. Yeah, we want them to live, eat, breathe V-Shred and truly believe in what they're talking about. And that's what happened to Dr. Drew and his wife, Susan. They both truly believed in what we do, and it just became the most seamless partnership ever. And so now it's evolved, and so it started with just like him making videos for us, and now it's evolved, and we got much bigger plans that we're actually just recently signed on, and so we got some big plans with Dr. Drew moving forward, and very excited for everybody to hear about it because, like you said, it does hit a much different demographic than what I hit. It certainly does, and that's important to us, and because like one of the reasons that our company is no longer called the Vinsanity Shred, which is what it was originally called, is because we knew that.
Okay, I did not. So hence the V Shred. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
Insanity. And so we knew that we didn't want this to be just so directly tied to me. We wanted this to be something where we could introduce a couple different faces who speak to different demographics. We're talking to people about being our like menopause face, not necessarily menopause face, but like that demographic.
Sure.
Right. And having like Dr. Drew is that older male demographic, and then maybe getting a younger female to talk to the younger female demographic who's talking about losing baby weight or anything like that. And so we've always known, I shouldn't say always known, after we blew up the last couple of years, we've known that we need to expand this beyond just Vince is the face, because just Vince is the face is awesome, but it's a liability, to be completely honest. Because what if we would joke, what if I got hit by a bus tomorrow?
Right.
What happens to the brand if I'm gone tomorrow? I can't film any more videos. We're going to hang on to the videos that we have for as long as we possibly can. But if everything is reliant on what's called key man risk, we've learned, if everything's relying on one person, it's not good. And so, and also it limits us with who we can help, who we can talk to, who's going to trust us. And so Dr. Drew, like I said, opens up that demographic where people are like, where maybe my dad or someone in my dad's demographic, my dad trusts me, but someone in my dad's demographic might go, what does this let's say people think I'm 35 even. What does this 35-year-old know about us 60-year-olds? Versus Dr. Drew, it's like, oh, that's first off, a doctor. Second off, my age bracket. And so it's like this guy, and in really good shape, this guy I can talk, this guy I can listen to. And so, yeah, that's kind of how everything evolved from day one of us being like, it'd be cool to work with Dr. Drew. And now he's like he's a really good friend of ours now, which is really cool. And we have a really good relationship with him business-wise too.
Right on. And they're entertaining. I mean, we're talking, the business of advertising, but these videos you guys are putting out are really entertaining. I mean, when Dr. Drew comes in, who is this guy? You've probably seen him all over your
Yeah,
feed,
yeah.
and you've got him doing some, sometimes some kind of goofy things. So it's kind of fun to watch. But yeah, I absolutely love that kind of diversifying the risk of just the Vinsanity.
Exactly.
That's the face of the company.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it. All right. Well, Vince, let's talk a little bit of nutrition. Let's talk a little bit of workout. You've mentioned a couple times that one of the keys to your success was this survey. Brilliant, by the way, the body type survey. Let's start there. What do you mean when you say body type? Are we talking your classic ectomorph, endomorph, mesomorph? Is it some other thing? And why would that matter when it comes to my nutrition or my workout?
Yes, great question. So, yes, we are talking about the classic ecto, meso, endo. Just because, not necessarily like people, and it's funny, people when they hear like the people who know about the body types are like, oh, that was disproven years ago. And it's like, well, kinda. It's like there's also a specific approach that you have to take when you're trying to get in shape depending on where you're starting from and what your specific goal is. And that's literally all it is. And so when we made that body type quiz, it was like, what is a way for us to help people identify with the program that's right for them? Because we were like, we started out with one ab program, and then we expanded to one full body male program, and then we expanded to 3 full body male programs, and then we opened up the women demographic. Because in the beginning we were like, why would women listen to me? I'm a guy. And then we opened it up to women, and women listened to me more than guys, which was shocking. And so then we expanded to 3 women's programs, and we were like, okay, these are all different programs for different goals. And so we have like a fat loss goal, we have like a leaning out goal, and then we have a building goal, right? And so we were like, how do we get people to know which one of these is going to be best for them? How do we make them feel like they're being heard when it comes to their specific fitness goals? And that's where the body type quiz was introduced. It was like, well, this is something that through just a couple multiple choice questions, we can very easily figure out what somebody needs to do. And to identify, and also the thing about marketing is you have to simplify it. It has to be so easy. Like people say, like when you're writing something, it has to be read at a 4th grade level. Like you have to simplify it so much so that it's catchy, so that it's easy to understand for everybody, right? Because there's a bunch of high level intelligence people, and then there's a bunch that aren't, right? And so you have to make sure that you're speaking to all of them, and simple is just the best way to go. And so when it comes to simplifying that process of helping people identify, like we'd be like, what's your metabolic type? Like even that might be a little bit too complicated for some, or it might seem too complicated for somebody for them to want to even try to figure that out, right? If you go, hey, there's 3 body types, you're probably one of them, and we have a quiz that helps you figure it out. That makes it super easy to understand, and there's validity to it. And that's the most important piece. And people are like, oh, body types aren't real, because, I mean, technically, if someone is 50 pounds overweight and then they lose 50 pounds and then they lose 20 more pounds on top of that, and all of a sudden they're skinny, yeah, technically they would go from an endomorph to maybe an ectomorph. But it's not saying that they're just born that way and that's them forever. That's just saying, where are you right now?
Yeah,
and what do you need to do to achieve the goal that you want to achieve? And that's all it was. And I think people kind of took it, and like the haters, I should say, took it and kind of ran with it and just tried to hate on us for it. But it's like, this helps like my mom, who doesn't understand anything about, or didn't understand anything about fitness, to realize what she needs to do, right? And we have, I mean, and it's not crazy different approaches across the board, right? It's not like we have the person who wants to change their body composition but stay the same weight do completely different things than somebody who wants to lose 20 pounds. They're doing similar things. It's just your calories got to be different. Maybe your approach with training needs to be different. Maybe you need to be doing a little bit more regular cardio. Maybe you don't like doing cardio and you want to do HIIT workouts. Maybe you want to focus on body weight more than weight training, or maybe you do want to build a little bit, so we need to throw in more weight training. So depending on what that goal is, you need a specific approach with your diet and your training to achieve that goal. And that's all the body type quiz was. And then like that's also why we introduced like a custom coaching program as well, because I think digital programs are amazing for the majority of people. They're cheap, they're easy to access, you can follow them anywhere because ours has gym and home workouts in them. But then some people need accountability. Some people need someone to answer their questions. Some people need specific routines depending on what their injury history is or what their dietary restrictions are. And it's hard to put all of those things in one program, right? There's exercise modifications, there's vegan recipes, there's paleo recipes, there's that kind of stuff in there, but it's really hard to make it super customized to one person if it's just this catch-all program, right? And that's where we introduce the custom side of things so that you do get a coach who can work with you, who can answer your questions, who can make adjustments based on how your body's responding. And so, yeah, that's kind of how everything went.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. That, because I also, when I first saw that, I was like, it's a little, is that more of a sales game? I mean, look, don't get me wrong. As soon as I saw that, I was like, let's see if it guesses mine right, But the way you explain it, it's like, okay, I'm less interested in, are you just genetically this type as I am, and this is your starting point, and I want to meet you with where you are, right? So if you're coming in and you test as a mesomorph, well, hey, I can make some assumptions here. It would be great for us to put a little bit of lean muscle on you, but we really want to focus on leaning you out a little bit. If you're identifying more on that ectomorph size, okay, we probably want to bump this guy's calories or gal's calories up a little bit. It's
exactly
protein. Let's get them in the gym a little more regularly. Right. Okay. Gotcha. Absolutely love it. All right. So next place I want to go, because the next thing I see that you guys are famous for is, this is a metabolism killer. This is a metabolism killer. This is a metabolism killer. And it's either food or movements, exercises. And if you folks listening don't know what I'm talking about, well, first of all, just go to any social media platform, put in V-Shred, or just by listening to this, probably the universe will pick it up.
The phone's listening.
I'm guessing most folks have seen some of these before, but they're fun to watch ads. What do you mean by, well, let's back all the way up. Before we talk about metabolism killers, talk to us about metabolism. What is that, and why should we care, especially for those of us 50, 60 years old?
Yeah, no, metabolism is arguably the most important thing when it comes to getting in shape, because your metabolism essentially controls how efficiently you burn off what you eat, right? And so if you have a slow metabolism, then it's going to be tough to lose weight. And you're resting in it, because I think most people have a misconception of how calories are burned. I think most people think that the majority of your calories are burned during working out, when in reality, you don't really burn. I mean, I think it's less than 20% of your daily calories from working out, which is crazy, right? That means the other 80+% is burned from sitting at your desk, sitting on the couch, walking to the kitchen, like just regular day-to-day activities. Yeah. And so that is if that is the fair share of your caloric expenditure, then it would make the most sense to increase that, right? And that gets increased from very specific things. And I think and it goes back to, like, when people think that they need to work out to get in shape, what do? Well, they do cardio usually. And it's like, well, cardio is not helping your metabolism. Cardio is burning calories while you do it. But when it comes to your metabolism, there's one thing that's going to trump everything when it comes to speeding up your metabolism, and that is muscle on your body. And so when we talk about metabolism, we're talking about things that are going to either affect your amount of muscle on your body, or we're talking about things that are going to spike your insulin, or it's going to lead to inflammation in the body, or something that's going to slow or secrete extra cortisol in your body that's going to then slow down your metabolism and make it harder to burn calories that day. Or if you do that consistently, then it'll make it hard to burn calories consistently. So metabolism really just comes down to how many calories do you burn every single day, and there are specific things that you can do that either hurt that or that help that.
Right on. Absolutely love that. We talk a lot on this show about metabolism, importance of metabolism, and certainly a lot of our clients they have that at our age, as you might imagine, have that chronic diet history where they're either yo-yo dieters or chronic low calorie. They come from years of Weight Watchers or something where they've been,
100%. My mom did Weight Watchers over and over growing
years.
Up. Yeah.
And you're like, okay, you got 20 pounds to lose, but you're currently eating 1,100 calories. Let's reverse diet you and optimize that metabolism.
And that's another great one is people, they will starve themselves and they don't realize that hurts your 100%. Metabolism too.
And anytime you're in a caloric deficit, to that, right? It's
100%.
It's slowing down. And
it's tough, because like, anytime you're in a caloric deficit, your metabolism is going to slow down, right? There's no avoiding it because your body adapts to what it is that you're doing.
It's very good at that.
People are like, oh, well, if that's going to happen, then I might as well just eat very few, like no calories, because it's going to slow down anyways. And so I might as well just limit my intake and lose as much weight as I can as fast as I can. But it's a lot easier to sustain something long term and also not completely destroy your hormones if you're in a slight caloric deficit versus, like you said, eating 1,100 calories every single day and you're miserable all day. You have crazy cravings all day and your metabolism absolutely crashes. Right. And so that's another great one. I mean, I watched my mom do that over and over growing up. She did Weight Watchers all the time, went to her weigh-ins, and she was like doing the point system. And
yeah.
she would be like, oh, Swedish fish are 6 points, but I got to have it and then be hungry the rest of the day.
Yeah.
So
it's nuts. And it's not sustainable either, right? Anytime you're miserable, right? So somebody who works on optimizing their metabolism before they worry about the fat loss phase, but just worries about getting that healthy, roaring metabolism's got more food freedom. It's a much better place to live. People can sustain that long term versus that kind of horrible, miserable, low calorie existence that we're talking about. All right. Well, Vince, then if that's the case, and you've already alluded to this a little bit on the exercise side, what are our metabolism killers? What are we trying to avoid for those of us that are looking to really optimize our metabolism? And look, we all want the same thing, right? We want to look good. We want to have a strong, healthy, vital body, right? What am I trying to avoid in that metabolism killer category?
Yeah, and and I like to give context with this.
Sure.
And so the metabolism killer side of things is there are things that are going to make it tougher for you to lose weight. There are going to be things that are going to make it tougher for you to burn calories, because there are things that are going, like processed foods, for example, are going to create a bunch of inflammation in your body that's going to secrete cortisol. That's going to make it tough to burn fat, right? When you have a bunch of cortisol in your body wants to store fat because it's stress, right? And so there are foods that are going to create that inflammation, and that's processed foods. That can also be high sugar foods that aren't necessarily super processed, just because of the insulin spike that you are going to get from eating that, the blood sugar spike that you get. But then what I like to give with the context here is that we don't, so like, I think this is the beauty of our advertising, is we're like, this is a metabolism killer, this is a metabolism killer. And we're also doing now one that maybe you haven't seen yet. There we go. This is an insulin spiker. This is an insulin spiker.
I hadn't seen that one.
So we're kind of leaning into that now as well, just so people kind of understand it a little bit more, because I think that's a little bit more scientific. It makes a little bit more sense. But the beauty of it is that doesn't mean you have to give those up. That doesn't mean you have to stop eating those forever. That just means don't eat those all the time. And the thing is, like, there's a lot of healthy foods, quote unquote, people that aren't watching, quote unquote, healthy foods that you're eating that you think are healthy that are not healthy at all. And so those are the ones that we're really leaning into, that we're like, this is a metabolism killer. Why? Because it's super processed. You want to stay away from processed foods as much as possible, or it's loaded with sugars, it's loaded with additives, and that's just going to release so much more stress in your body or inflammation in your body because of the blood sugar and everything. And so when we talk about metabolism killers, it's about identifying what those are so that you're mindful of them, but then also understanding, hey, that doesn't mean you don't have to give these up. Because like for me, like there's another ad angle that we have where I like show these metabolism killers, and I'm like, hey, but I still have these foods and I'm in the best shape of my life, right? And it's true. I literally had ice cream with Reese cups in it last night with a glass of wine.
Yeah.
And people don't realize that as long as you keep it in moderation, you're going to be okay. And so like understanding what those healthy foods and what those unhealthy foods are and how they affect your body is largely important, so that then you can go, okay, most of the time I'm not going to have these foods, but then sometimes I'm going to have these foods because that's what makes this sustainable long term. If you told me that I can never have ice cream with Reese cups in it ever again, the next time I have a craving for that, I'm probably just going to give in and binge completely, because I'm like, whoa, I can never have this again. I'm already craving it. Versus if I'm like, hey, I have this on Fridays, or I have this on Sundays, or I have this on whatever day. You're like, okay, if it's Tuesday and you can't have it till Sunday, you're like, all right, I can hold off 5 more days. I can do that. Versus if you're like, it's Tuesday and you're not supposed to ever have it again, you're like, screw it, I'm having it right now. And so that mindset of keeping it in moderation, like we always talk about the 80-20 rule. I think that's a hugely helpful theory or principle to implement into people's lives. And the 80-20 rule, for anybody listening that doesn't know what that is, it means 80% of the time, do what you're supposed to do, right? Eat the foods that are healthier for you. Make the smarter decisions. Get your activity in, get your workouts in. 20% of the time, live your damn life.
Yeah.
Sorry for my language, but do what you want to do.
Advice. Yeah.
Right. And as long as you do that, then it makes it so that if you're 80% of the time doing what you're supposed to do, you're going to get results. And then if 20% of the time you're doing what you want to do, you're going to stick to it long term. And that is the beautiful balance of what I think everybody should do to keep things sustainable.
Yeah, I love all of that. I love that idea of balance and not having foods. Well, I don't like to classify them as morally good, morally bad. Some nutritionally serve you better than others, right? Going back to the ultra-processed foods, we want to avoid those as much as possible because of all the reasons that you said, and plus the fact that they're highly addictive. They're scientifically designed to be ultra hyper
to release dopamine when you eat it.
Release dopamine. Yeah, Pop-Tarts taste delicious. Okay.
Yeah.
But they're nutrition. There's no nutrition in them. But like you said, I mean, life without another bowl of ice cream as long as I live sounds like kind of a miserable existence. So finding that balance, because really I'd rather have somebody who is less than perfect but consistently good than somebody who's 100% always perfect, because sooner or later that perfect's going to fall. They're going to fall off the wagon, right?
100%.
Whereas that consistently good, and I'm living a regular life. I have date night with my wife. I enjoy a glass of wine. I have dessert after, whatever. All right. Well, Vince, I thought it might be kind of fun. Let's put together a bit of a nutrition plan and a workout plan. Now, realizing that obviously leaving body types and other things aside, but just our avatar, let's just say, is Mr. or Mrs. Smith, mid-50s. The goal is they want to lose 15, 20 pounds, just kind of feel good, move, be able to get down on the floor, play with grandkids, all that kind of fun stuff. I think nutritionally we understand what we're going to do, right? We want to prioritize whole foods over these ultra-processed foods. You had mentioned, I think you just dropped it slightly a little bit ago. You had mentioned something about carb cycling. That's kind of one of your things. I know you talk about that a little bit in some of your advertisement as well. What does that prescription look like for us? Because there's a lot of confusion around what we should eat, when we should eat, how much we should eat. What's that look like in general?
Yeah. So essentially, carb cycling, for everybody listening, is where you cycle your carb and your fat intake each day. And so throughout the week, you have a specific number of, let's call them low carb days. And then there's different ways of breaking up the days. You could go low carb, medium carb, high carb. Some people just go low and high and they just go back and forth on those. But basically throughout the week, you have a specific number of low and high carb days. And those are all, and you adjust those based on how your body responds. Also, you adjust your training, or you should just adjust your training so that you're having carbs on like the intense workout days, because low carb days, I don't care who you are, they're not that fun. But on low carb days, essentially what you're doing is you still want to aim for a similar number of calories overall. And so if you're creating a nutrition plan, the first thing that you want to do is figure out the calories that you're going to go for. And so you want to make sure that somebody wants to lose 20 pounds, you have to be in a deficit. You just have to. You don't want to go too steep of a deficit, obviously. I always say you want to start around 20%. And then if that's not enough, go 25, go 30 maybe. If that's enough and they're losing weight, stay there. Because that is going to be a pretty sustainable number. If you burn 2,500 calories a day, you can eat 2,000 calories a day and still lose weight pretty consistently, right? And so you want to figure out your number of calories, and then you break it up into your macros. And so you want to figure out like, okay, a very easy way of going about protein is just figuring out how much somebody weighs. And so if you weigh 160 pounds, okay, aim for, if you're a woman, I would say maybe just 140, 150 grams of protein is fine. If you're a guy, go a pound per or a gram per pound of body weight. That's just an easy, generalized way to approach protein, right? So you have your protein figured out. After that, you want to basically fluctuate your carb and your fat intake opposite of each other. And so let's say it's your low carb day on Monday. So on low carb day, you want to aim as low as you can possibly handle. And so if you can go no carb, great. And that's going to obviously mean a ton of fats. And so that means on that low carb day, you're going essentially a keto diet, right? You're going high protein, or I guess normal protein, and then really high fat, because you have to make up those calories that you're going to lose from dropping your carbs in your fats. And so you're going to be getting 2,000 calories. And so let's say 150 grams of protein, that would be 600 calories coming from protein. You would want, what is that? 1,400 calories coming from fats, which is a lot.
So we're going for that 2,000 calories,
Right. And so it's a lot, but, or like I said, you can go just low carb. And so if you want to do, let's say 10% of your daily calories coming from carbs on a low carb day. And then let's say that means the other 60%, because your protein is going to take up probably 30 to 40%. The other 60% is going to take up, or 50% is going to be from fats. So you gotta, it's tough to do like a specific plan for somebody right here on the spot, because I would need to look at the specific numbers and what they also would prefer doing. Because if somebody's like, no, I cannot do a low carb or no carb day, I go, okay, we'll do low
if you're
carb.
not going to stick to it, it's not the best diet for you.
100%.
Right? Yeah.
100%.
Yep.
But generally speaking, you figure out your protein, and then you map out what days are going to be your low carb days and your high carb days. So if Monday, Tuesday are low, Wednesday's high, Thursday, Friday low, Saturday, Sunday high. Okay, great. So on your low carb days, you're going to be going, let's say 10% of your daily calories are coming from carbs, and then the other, let's say 50% are going to be coming from fats. On your high carb days, you're essentially going to switch it. And so on your high carb days, you're going to go, I don't know if I'd go 50% of your daily calories coming from carbs, because that's a lot of carbs. I would probably still keep your fats a little higher, probably keep your fats around 20%, and then put your carbs around 40%. Right. And so, but essentially what you're doing is you're keeping your protein right in the middle, and then you're fluctuating your fat and your carbs. So as your carbs go low, your fats go up. As your carbs go high, your fats go down, because the goal is to keep the calories pretty much the same every single day. I think normally your calories are going to be a little bit lower on low carb days and a little bit higher on high carb days. And that's totally fine. What you want to do is you want to average out a certain number of calories per day over the course of a week. And so it's, and when it comes to food, that can go a million different ways depending on like what you prefer eating. But like in the morning, and also depending on the day. So like if it's a high carb day, hey, guess what? You get to enjoy carbs at pretty much every single meal.
Some pancakes, right? Yeah.
It's a fun day today. Yeah.
Right.
You're going to get a great workout today.
Yeah.
But then on the low carb days, you got to be a little bit more careful with it. And so if you are going to have some carbs, some foods just have carbs in them. And so you want to really be careful of what foods you're eating, because you might be eating carbs that you might be eating a food that has, I don't know, 20 grams of carbs in it. You didn't even realize it, like a protein bar or something like that. So you really want to be careful with it. But if you are going to have carbs on your low carb days, I would always keep it around your workouts, either before or after your workouts, and then keep your really high fat meals right after you wake up and right before bed. And so those are probably most general rules I can give to somebody if they're trying to get advice from me right here, right now on how to build a nutrition plan. So,
all right. No, I think we get the gist of that, right? And we talk about on this show all the time that high protein, that gram of protein per pound of ideal body weight is pretty much the target that we tell folks to do. And then in terms of, we have not talked a whole lot about carb cycling, but it's pretty, I get it, right? And it sounds like you're kind of splitting that week up almost half and half. Then you're getting maybe 3 days of the high carb.
Yeah, we generally like to go minimum 2 days of low carbs in a row, just so that you can really get that fat burn effect and you can deplete your body of glycogen and everything.
Fat burn is what you're going
right.
for. And are you trying to then, is there any, like, for example, if I'm doing that and I'm not doing like a 5 day a week body part split or something, I'm doing 3 days a week for my strength training. Do I want my high carb days to be on those gym days, or days when I be more active, or is that less important?
Yeah, no, I think it's hugely important, because I really get affected by carb intake. Granted, I'm not trying to lose weight, so I'm not carb cycling. But generally, when people start carb cycling, if they've never done it before, the low carb days, you are lower on energy. That's just how it goes, right? That's the kind of the name of the game. It's supposed to go that way. And so it's a lot harder to go hit a heavy leg session on low energy. And so that's why I say, like, depending on what your daily carb intake is that day, you do want to adjust your workouts depending on what your meals are going to look like. And if you do have a hard gym session coming up on Wednesday, make that Wednesday your high carb day. And so, like, if there's like non-negotiable, so it really comes down to like, what are you going to prioritize? Can you adjust your training around your diet? Or are you going to have to adjust your diet around your training? Do you have like classes that you go to and you pay a personal trainer a bunch of money and they put you through workouts Monday through Friday? Okay, let's adjust your diet so that your low carb days are on your cardio days and your high carb days are on your leg days or full body days, or a day where you work out and you do cardio, right? And so I definitely think adjusting it so that because then the other thing is like, the other thing is, what is your goal with your training? Because let's say your goal is to train or to build, like for a guy, for example, let's say a guy's goal is to build his back, right? He really wants a bigger back and bigger biceps. Okay, maybe let's talk about doing a high carb day on your back day, because then you're going to be able to get the most out of that training session. And so it really comes down to like, hey, what are the hardest workouts? Because it is smartest to make those high carb days on those hard workouts. Or what is your goal with your training?
Yeah.
Right.
100%.
Because we can adjust depending on that too.
Yeah. All right. So what I think I heard you saying then is this carb cycling idea is more of a fat loss phase type of a diet. Because what I heard you say is, hey, I'm not cutting right now, so that's not what I'm doing. So this is a tool that you use basically. It's just another tool you pull out of the bag when it comes time for the fat loss phase. Is that fair?
Yeah, for the most part. I think when people get out of that fat loss phase, there's an easier method of nutrition to follow, which is just macros. I think if it fits your IFYM, I think if it fits your macros, it's just flexible dieting. It's just probably the easiest diet out there.
Right. With that caveat of going back to what you said about, hey, let's prioritize whole foods and
100%.
Right.
100%.
100%. Okay, I thought you would agree with that. Because I think a lot of the folks in that, if it fits my macros,
they're like, oh, okay, Sour Patch.
Right on. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay. No. Yeah. I just want to clarify that. All right. And now, where do you fall on a workout just for your? Again, let's just use a 55-year-old Mr. Smith. He wants to build a little muscle, lose a little fat. Is he doing 5 days a week body part splits? Is he doing a push-pull legs? Is he doing 3 days of full body? What's just in general? Again, I'm asking you an impossible question here, right? This is for just kind of a generic avatar. Hey, I see we're coming to the top of the hour. You okay on time?
Yeah, I'm good. All
right, good. All right. Yeah, just in general, what's your recommendation workout-wise?
Yeah. So again, I would throw a little context in here where I would first question would be, what's the goal? And so let's say the goal is weight loss, right? Let's say it's just 20 pounds of weight loss and maybe a little bit of body composition change, right? They want to put on a little bit of muscle, but mainly focus on losing weight, right? The other question I would ask is, how much time can you dedicate to this? And also, what do you enjoy doing? Do you enjoy going to the gym? I know people who love going to the gym. I am one of those people. I cannot stand home workouts, right? I also know people who have 3 kids and hate going to the gym or don't have a gym membership and cannot stand going. And so they need home workouts. And also I know people who are like, I can give you 4 days a week. I also know people go, I'll give you every single day if you want it from me. And so it's like, what's going to be realistic for you to actually, because if somebody goes, I can only work out 4 days a week, and I go, here's your 6 day a week training plan, and they can't do it. It's like, well, what was the point of building that? Right. Or if somebody's like, I don't like going to the gym, and I go, okay, well, we got to go to the gym to get the best results. And they might do that for a week or two, but then after a little bit of while, they're going to get burnt out and they're not going to follow it anymore. So those would be the 2 questions that I would lead off with. Let's say they have no preference, right? Or they want to mix, right? Because honestly, I'm always going to lean more towards a sustainable approach. I'm never going to be like, you got to go to the gym for 2 hours a day. I'm never going to say you have to do an hour of cardio a day. Okay, unless you like doing that. If you're like a triathlete or something like that, or you're a runner and you want to go run 4 days a week for an hour, awesome. Cool. That's great calorie burn, right?
Yeah.
But if you don't like doing that, okay, there's other methods. And so generally, I would probably break it up into either an upper lower full, so upper body, lower body full. And so I would break that up into like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then maybe a rest day on the 4th day, and then repeat that again. And then what you could also do is you could make the first cycle of that home. So you could go home upper, home lower, home full. And then the second cycle is gym upper, gym lower, gym full, if they like doing both. If they only like doing home, fine. Let's maybe get some resistance bands in there. Let's maybe get some light dumbbells in there. Or if you just like doing body weight, the beautiful thing about trying to lose weight is you don't have to lift a ton of weights to lose weight. People who are generally out of shape, they are going to benefit largely just from doing intense body weight workouts, as opposed to somebody who's in really good shape. They're probably going to need some overload, right? Or I would say push-pull legs is a fantastic routine, right? You're hitting every muscle group twice a week if you're doing it twice a week. Or if it's somebody that doesn't want to work out 6 days a week, push-pull legs is 3 workouts a week, like 3 resistance training workouts a week. And then on top of that, you can be like, okay, I'm going to throw in 1 HIIT workout on another day, or 2 HIIT workouts on 2 other days, right? And those HIIT workouts are 15-minute workouts where they're burning a ton of calories. They're utilizing this thing called excess post-oxygen consumption, where they're burning calories after their workout, and so their body stays revved up, and they're getting good results from it. And so it's this thing that, A, they don't have to leave their house. B, it takes like 15 minutes. And C, it burns just, I mean, there was a study done that said a 15-minute HIIT workout burns just as many calories as a 50-minute steady-state cardio session. And so you're getting the same results from an hour of cardio from 15 minutes.
Yeah,
and so
I think also what you'd mentioned this before, that steady state cardio, that calorie burn stops the minute you stop that steady state cardio, whereas that HIIT's going to kind of like resistance training. You're going to get that benefit of burning calories for
100%.
an extended period of time. So yeah,
100%.
A big fan of that short, sweet, intense.
Yeah, and steady state cardio is known to release cortisol in your body. And so it's literally stressing your body out, because like running, for example, people don't realize this. Running is a plyometric exercise. Plyometric means jumping for everybody. Running is a jumping exercise because you're leaving your feet to land on the next foot. That's putting stress on your ankles, your knees, your hips, your low back, everything. That is stressing your body out. Right. And it's in a heart rate zone that's also stressing your body out. And so these are things that you do have to take into account. And so that's why I always say, like, the first question that I'm going to ask is, what do you enjoy doing? What's something that you're going to be able to do consistently? Are you a runner? Great. That makes it easy. We're just going to throw running into your plan because you like that. You like doing that. If you're not a runner, we're going to figure out a type of workout that you enjoy doing somewhat, or I should say something you don't hate doing, because you got to just throw in stuff that people hopefully will start enjoying eventually as they get better at it. But if it's a HIIT workout, like I know for a fact, my mom and my dad, we made a HIIT workout program. It's a 30-day at-home workout program. And my mom and dad, they both started following it together. And then my dad lost like 60 pounds on it. My mom lost like 30 pounds on it. And they just followed it like 9 times in a row. And in the beginning, they hated them. They hated the HIIT workouts. My dad couldn't do like jumping lunges and certain exercises. And now they're in pretty good shape and they're loving
All
it.
over it.
And
Love
so
it. Yeah, man.
you
Yeah.
start liking stuff as you get better at it, you know?
Agreed. Yes. Also, I think you start liking things as you get better at them. But I also think that as you start to see the change in your body, so you're actually seeing some change, but there's also a bunch of other things that are happening hormonally, metabolically. You're starting to feel better. You're probably sleeping better. Your libido's probably revved up. And certainly in my age bracket, that's kind of a thing, right?
Right.
Everything starts firing on, your mood's generally improved. So I think that that's another reason why, people start to associate that with the movement, with the exercise, with just this healthy lifestyle, and they quote unquote love it, right? So there are people that love being in the gym and working out, and there are other people that love maybe they don't love necessarily going to the gym and working hard, but they love
what happens to them.
They love
Right.
what happens 100%. Yeah. Tracking with you. All right. So I think that overall, that then builds a pretty healthy plan, right? If you're looking to lose weight, you guys got some great tips there on carb cycling you can try. If you're looking to build some muscle, certainly some great ideas there. Those of you that are cardio junkies and my endurance folks listening, you've got certainly some considerations there, especially as we're getting older. There's some hormonal consequences to that really long distance endurance stuff as well as we start to age, but that's another topic for another time. All right. Well, Vince, we're at the top of the hour here, man, and I want to be respectful of your time. So I want to ask you this. You're a fairly young dude at the top of your game, and who knows, maybe the top of your game is yet to come. I like to tell people I'm 60 and my best is yet to come, right? Where do you see yourself 30 years from now? Let's just imagine Vince at 59, getting ready to turn 60. What's happening? What's going on in his life? What does he look like? What's he passionate about? Where do you see yourself in 30 years?
Man, I've never been asked 30. I've been asked 5. I've been asked 10.
Come on,
never
man.
been asked 30.
Stretch this out a little bit. Yeah.
Man, I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is I'm always going to be fitness focused. I plan to continue to get healthier every single year. I plan to be that. I want kids. I plan to be that dad who's still faster and stronger and beating his kids at every competition I possibly could. Keep putting them in their place well into my 70s. Right on. And maybe even my grandkids a little bit. I want my grandkids to look at me as like, damn, grandpa, he's got it.
Grandpa's jacked. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's a non-negotiable for me. I want to keep health at the forefront for the rest of my life. People always say, or there's a quote, it's like, your health isn't that important to you until you don't have it, and then it's everything. And so I want to make sure that I have it at all times, and I'm on top of it, and I'm proactive. I think the biggest issue in today's society and with like the medical side of health is that everything is reactive. As long as you can stay proactive and you don't have to get into that reactive state, that's how you stay healthy, and that's how you continue to make progress, because sometimes it's too late for some people. They're already diabetic, you know? And so I'm going to make sure that never happens. Aside from that, man, I don't know. I don't know what could happen with the company. Maybe it becomes something that's way too big for me anymore. And I'm just like, I just kind of want to step to the side and just oversee things, or maybe we sell, maybe, I don't know. I do know I have a passion for animals. I've always wanted a ranch, and I want to rescue animals. And so like saving animals from like slaughter, or saving strays, or going to shelters and saving dogs and foster programs, put up a nonprofit organization. That's definitely something that I'm going to do in the next 5 to 10 years for sure. And maybe that's my next calling, is helping animals get healthy and helping save animals rather than humans, or maybe it's both, you know? I think that's where I'm at. And so it's like, I want my lady, and I got a girlfriend now, and we're thinking about stuff. And so it's like, I want to be, you know, settled down. I want to have kids. I want to have land, and I want to rescue animals. And I just want to continue to make the world a better place.
Amen, brother. I love that. That's a great answer. Let me just finish with this. Does 60-year-old Vince have abs still? You still got that?
Oh
six
yeah.
pack?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
All right.
You got an 8-pack.
Yeah. He's got an 8-pack. Yeah. All right. So still jacked and ripped. All right. Hey, Vince, tell folks, I can't imagine, for the one listener out there who doesn't know who you are, hasn't seen your ads, has no clue how to get in touch with you or connect with you, where do you want to send people? How can they connect with you, maybe learn more?
Just speak V-Shred into Siri, and then we'll send you some ads. No, I'm kidding.
Like I said, just listening to this is probably
exactly.
going to get you on the ads list somehow, right?
Exactly. No, if anybody wants to check out our website, it's vshred.com. That quiz that we've talked about a couple of times, it's right at the top. It's going to be like which body type are you? Select your gender. It's going to be that male, female question right at the top of the very home page. But then it's V-Shred on every single social media: YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. We have all of them. V-Shred for Women on Instagram as well. And yeah, I think that's about it.
All the V-Shred places. All right. And folks, I will make sure I put all that in the show notes. You guys can find that there. Vince, thanks so much for coming on the show, sharing not just your knowledge and your wisdom with us, but being a good sport and playing along here. I really, really love the work that you're doing. I love that you got a mission to help people. You have a heart for service. Sounds like you're going to carry that over to maybe some animal stuff. So just absolutely love that, honor that, and encourage you to keep up the great work, man.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on it. This was a lot of fun. I actually was like, wow, we're not going to be going over like specific like for everybody listening, usually how this kind of stuff works is like you go, I don't want to say usually, but I'm actually quite new to this. You're not. So maybe you know, but I don't. But you figure out like what you're going to talk about. We were like, no, we're just going to run. We're just going to see where this goes. And I loved it. And I had a great time. So thank you.
I get all you're welcome. A lot of times just behind the curtains, a lot of times guests or the PR person for the guest or whatever says, hey, can you send me the questions in advance? I'm like, I don't have any questions.
Yeah.
I just want to have a natural conversation about whatever comes
up. It went way better. It's not scripted at all. It's not like pre-planned. There's no pre-planned answers. So it was all off the cuff, and it went amazing, I think.
Right on, man. All right. Well, hey, thanks again for being on the show.
Thank you.
Hey folks, just a quick reminder to head over to silveredgefitness.com and take our new metabolism quiz to find out if you are a fat storer or a fat burner. You can find the quiz over at silveredgefitness.com at the top of the page. Okay, that's our show for today, folks. If you've enjoyed this podcast, I want to let you know that we have other free resources over at silveredgefree.com. There, you'll find our free guides with our top tips on nutrition, exercise, and healthy lifestyle to assist you in your weight loss and fitness journey. So feel free to head over there and download anything that looks useful to you. I'll put links to everything we talked about in the show notes. You folks can find those over at silveredgefitness.com/282.
As we wrap up our time together today, you can show your support for this show in two important ways. The first is to tell a friend about this podcast and encourage them to give it a listen. The second is for you YouTube folks to please click the like and subscribe buttons, and for you podcast folks to please give this podcast a 5-star review on whatever platform you listen to podcasts on, and be sure to subscribe and follow so you don't miss any future episodes. I really appreciate you spending your time with me today, and until next time, stay strong.